There's too many games, now he's trying to review them.
Dragon Power, Dragon... Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. My name's Nathan, and welcome to Nathan Reviews his obscenely large game collection. So we're gonna see if I can video review every single one of these retro games I own in order faster than I can buy them. What do you think? Place your bets!
Nathan vs. Video Games is legally obligated to tell you that Nathan cannot possibly review games faster than he buys them. Seriously, there's a reason he can't afford food.
Alright, so if we're going in alphabetical order, that means that the first game in my collection is 3D World Runner, but I already did a video review of this, so let's put that back in here. So the first game for this video review looks like it's gonna be... $1943. Yep, 1943. Absolutely the next game alphabetically in my game collection, and not a terrible sports game.
I've said it before, I really love the shmup genre, but I suck at shmup games. Games like Life Force, Legendary Wings, Ikaruga, and others are some of my favorites of all time, but I make no claim to be any good at them. 1943 is yet another NES overhead shooter based on the arcade game of the same name. Considering there are about 80 quad-zillion shooters on the NES, how well does this one hold up?
Incredibly well, actually, and not just for the World War II theme.
1943 is sort of based on the real-life battle for Midway, as you probably got from the game's title. You play as a single fighter against squadrons of identical green planes, a few red planes, and sometimes some bigger planes that are also green and red. Well, in truth, picking a World War II setting meant there wasn't much in terms of variety for the enemies, but it's okay. It isn't bananas insane like, say, Life Force, but blowing up planes still works, so we'll take it.
While the enemy repetition is a bit annoying, the game does mix things up at the halfway point in stages.
Almost every stage has 3 parts. You have a beginning stage that's all fought completely in the air, then a secondary stage where you dive down and start taking out boats and stuff, and finally the last stage is just a boss battle. Oh, and did I mention this game has 23 stages?
23! This game has 23 levels in it. That's more than any shmup that I can think of. I mean, how did they cram it all in this tiny cartridge? And speaking of how am I still playing the game if I'm holding the game?
The gameplay to 1904 is a bit unique. Rather than having life, you actually have an energy meter in the lower right that is constantly draining. Using special attacks or taking hits will cause it to drain faster, and once it reaches 0, you die in a single hit. So then you'll have to make a decision. Do I use a screen clearing bomb at the cost of energy, or do I save it so that I last longer? It provides a good risk-reward balance, and I think pretty much I just hoarded all my energy, so you can do that too. Power-ups are pretty abundant, but the best of these allow you to upgrade. Yeah, you can put points into different stats and then use these stats further on in the game. The more you find, the more points you get. It's a cool system of progression that you usually don't see in these types of games, and it adds to the quality.
Yeah, it has points to buff stats. I guess that means 1943 is an RPG? Sort of.
Another neat trick is you can actually pick which power-up you get by shooting it after it appears. It's kind of a neat trick if you want to make sure you get a spread shot instead of something crappy. Or just a POW, which is like 5 energy.
There is something that I should note though. 1943, this game is hard. Like NES hard. Earns the title for sure. You die once and you start the whole stage over. You do get unlimited continues, but once you run out of energy, that's one hit, and you're starting back all the way from the beginning.
It's worth pointing out this game is way easier if you have a turbo button. So bust out that NES Advantage, or the NES Max, or even the NES 4 score if you got it. That'll let you turbo any controller. Your thumbs will thank me, I promise. My only real complaint is the bewildering lack of 2-player co-op. Playing cooperative is pretty much a staple of the genre. That's no fun if I have to play it by myself. even if it does mean I get to hold all the upgrade points. Graphically, 1943 is a bit of a mixed bag. The backgrounds are usually dull blue, sometimes with clouds. The enemies, as stated before, are repetitive and mostly just planes and admittedly good-looking boats. However, 1943 does have an extremely important graphical feature: no screen flicker and next to no slowdown. This is something I hardly ever see when I play an NES game that's a shmup. They're usually plagued with both sprite flicker and slowdown. Yeah, like, you know, Legendary Wings. The fact that 1943 manages to overcome this so deftly is pretty astonishing, honestly. It's probably because the stupid game doesn't have any co-op, but I'm digressing. The music is decent and thankfully not as awful as the noise that plagued 1942. Though that low energy song is incredibly obnoxious and drowns out all the other sounds in the game.
Oh, God. Okay, we get it. I'm low on energy. We get it. Can you just shut up?
Aside from that, the sound effects are excellent, the music's great, and I'd say everything in that regard is top notch.
So is 1943 worth checking out? Well, if you like the genre and you got a turbo controller, then I'd say it would be definitely worth picking up. You can find copies for usually around $5, and considering you get the 26 levels that I previously mentioned, it's a pretty good deal.
Somewhat bland graphics and lack of co-op aside, 1943 is still a fantastic shmup that incorporates a lot of new elements fused with solid core gameplay, and everything just runs so smoothly. It's still amazing me. I can't believe I'm running a shmup without slowdown. That's like unheard of.
If you can handle the challenge, 1943 is definitely worth getting. If I were to give it a star rating, it would probably be 3 out of 5 stars. And that's it for this review, so tune in next time when I review 10 Yard Fight. Or do I?